What's up, guys? It's John here, National Sports Entertainment, and I wanted to cover a couple games that we can hit for the 12 o'clock games. And like I always say, if by the time you watch the video, it's like 12:15, 12:20, you can always jump it on the live action. But anyway, so Purdue here is getting 9.5 in Minnesota, and again, this is not a foolproof method, this particular way of going about games, but I will say, in all of the picks we've made, I think there's a good, probably from like 7 to 8 of them I've picked strictly because they had yet to win against the spread or because they had yet to lose against the spread. And of those 6 or 7 that I picked strictly for that reason, every single one has won. So I'm not saying that's always going to be the case, but as you can see, the spread always, at the end of the season, you're not going to have teams never hit a spread or teams never miss a spread. That being said, Minnesota, again at home, looking good, ranked 4-0. 9.5 is not much. I think the casual bettor is going to be all over Minnesota with minus the 9.5 here. If someone's going to take Purdue, they'd probably take the money line because they're feeling reckless. So I feel like most money's coming into the Minnesota spread. That being said, a talking head on TV said the same thing during a game yesterday. He said they have these virtual locks. And some of these people are actually, like, again, they have to give them credibility, right? So you can't have people giving you virtual locks on ESPN and other channels, and then they're only coming through at a 40% pop. Like, if that was the case, then obviously nobody would listen to them. And the whole point of them doing these virtual locks is to get people to pick the wrong teams, or so they'll have a record of 62%, but another guy will have a much worse record, and then when we're going into like a primetime game, the guy will conveniently mess up. So he'll be 62%, but it's in smaller games that not many people are betting on. So this game I found interesting. This guy called it a virtual lock for Minnesota to cover. And like I said, his reasoning was because Minnesota is undefeated against the spread. And not that they can't start off 5-0 against the spread, because they can. But again, based off the narrative he's trying to drive home, and then the fact that based off history and just, again, it's just mathematics, the odds of a team starting off 5-0 against the spread, it happens, but there's like 2 or 3 teams every year that start off 5-0 against the spread. And again, no team ever covers every week. So let's say Minnesota is to win this game by the spread. Next week, I would be betting for them to not cover the spread again, because if you just look, here's the spread, and as you can see, we have just over a handful of teams that have covered the spread, and this is over 120 teams that have covered the spread every single game, every single week. So you can see it just very seldomly happens, and there's only 2 handfuls of teams that have not covered a spread once. That's why I go to that statistic that a lot of I noticed people overlook. It's a pretty important one. But basically, yeah, the talking heads pointing to Minnesota, the fact they're at home, ranked. I think it's a trap game. I think Purdue covers, and so we're going to place that bet right now. And there's a few other games I know that are brought up, and I did. Somebody asked me about the Michigan game, and I left in the comments what I believe, and I'll leave another comment. The thing about the Michigan game is nothing really jumped out at me. It does look like a very slight trap leaning, where I feel like Michigan, I would pick Michigan. But I really don't want to, like I said, advise picks that I really don't feel 100% about. So while I'm leaning Michigan, it's not one that I would suggest we just bet on to bet on. Like I said, Last week they were up against Maryland, Michigan. They should have covered by a lot more and they didn't. So now they're in Iowa. I do think more people will be taking Iowa. So I think Michigan, like I said, I would lean towards Michigan covering this spread. It's just not one I am completely sold on. I do think there's a good chance that Iowa keeps it close. So for me, the only one I really wanted to cover was the one that we were definitely picking. But if that helps, with your decision, if you want to take Michigan, like I said, I would lean Michigan, but I certainly wouldn't just go out of my way to pick it. But if someone said, hey, you had to pick Michigan to cover, I would pick Michigan to cover that 10. But yeah, so Purdue's our bet here. We're doing the win 25 just because I really strongly believe they're kind of pumping up Minnesota a little too much. So you guys take care. And like I said, you can always jump in on the live bet because games take a little bit to start. And just like last night, at no point would the live bet have lost for Boise or for the UCLA game. So that's what's good about live betting. So you guys take care and happy earnings. We got one going on now, and I might add a few like 2 o'clock games. I didn't get a chance to really look through them all, but I did think Minnesota jumped out. And with the Sunday games, we want to make sure we don't have too many outstanding sequences. So we'll see how we do with this upcoming Minnesota game. I do believe Purdue makes it closer than the pundits are acting like. And happy earnings.